So Marvel's Halloween horror-themed TV special, The Incredible Werewolf by Night came out, and if I'm being honest, it was kinda mid. Now, I've never really talked about a Marvel movie or just the MCU in general on this channel purely because I don't give a single shit about Marvel movies. I'm not one of them old boomer grandpas like Martin Scorsese or Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu that's running around calling Marvel movies not cinema or cultural genocide or whatever, but I guess you can say that I'm in the same camp or ballpark as these people. I'm not really a fan of Marvel movies purely because they just kind of make the same shit over and over again. Now, obviously there are some exceptions to this norm, as there are some movies in the MCU that I've given a rating higher than a 6, but unfortunately these quote good movies are very much the exception instead of the norm. The reason why I don't like Marvel movies is because they're incredibly formulaic and factory produced, no room for any sort of creativity, everything has to be streamlined for the sake of consistency in the MCU, and from Disney's perspective, everything needs to be pumped out for the sake of creating content. Therefore, there's no sense of style, no voice or presence from the directors and writers working on these movies. The humor is just the same lame Marvel quippy humor no matter what MCU film you watch. The special effects look like absolute dog shit. It's just this formulated, factory-produced series of movies that just pump out the same new shit with like maybe a couple of slight differences. They're basically the Ubisoft of film if you really think about it. And while I can see why that can be comforting for average moviegoers, as someone who likes seeing new and creative things from movies, this safe, generic, white toast-ass approach to filmmaking is not something that I enjoy or am a fan of. Now, I know I'm not really saying anything new or groundbreaking when it comes to this general distaste of Marvel movies, as I'm not the only person to make these claims, so I won't repeat anything that's already been said by A24 fans and, quote, objective critics who claim Marvel is ruining cinema because it only appeals to normies, or it's a complete dogshit abomination because it created concepts like women and non-white people. But it's important that I say all of this to begin with, because knowing this context is important for why I didn't like Werewolf by Night. Now, truth be told, I had no interest in seeing this TV special whatsoever. For me, like the other Disney Plus Marvel shows that were being dumped on this streaming service, I had no interest in any of these extra credit, optional, objective Marvel side projects. They look like the same old that Marvel has been producing since the dawn of man, and if I'm barely interested in the mainline shit, why the hell would I be interested in the Luigi of Marvel content? But then I started hearing a lot of buzz about this TV special as it was getting rave reviews, calling it the best thing in the MCU in a long time. It had a secret screening at Fantastic Fest, and everyone who saw it apparently absolutely loved it. Even some critics that I value and respect gave a lot of praise to this project. Everyone seemed to love it, but the thing that really pushed me to checking this out was that apparently this TV special was so unlike anything else in the MCU that if it didn't have the Marvel logo, you'd have no idea that this was in the same universe as Elon Musk, American Propaganda Man, and really loose Viking mythology man. A lot of people were saying that this film feels less like a superhero movie and more like an old Universal monster movie made in the 30s like Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Invisible Man. So much so that the actual special is filmed in black and white and has a lot of homages to those old monster movies with the choices of fonts and music. This is what attracted me to sit down and watch this special, and so after I saw it, I came to the conclusion that these people who were saying these things are either stupid or lying, because this was just yet another generic bullshit Marvel project. It was the same fucking thing that I have seen a million times in this universe. I was so mad that after I was finished with the TV special and scoured people's thoughts online, I was left incredibly confused because I was struggling to understand what people thought was so unique about this thing in the fucking first place. It's just yet another bullshit Marvel story featuring unfunny, quippy Marvel characters, references to C-tier comic book characters that I've never heard of, lame generic action scenes that look like fight scenes from every other MCU film, and a final battle with a CGI boy and a bad guy. It's yet another Marvel project, but I guess people were just completely gaslit into thinking that this film is somehow unique or creative because of how spooky and scary the trailer was. Oh my god, look how black and white Werewolf by Night is. I've never seen that before. Like, I just don't get it. Like, did people think this was different because it's shot in black and white? Was it really that spooky, even though it wasn't even remotely spooky, and the only people who find this scary are like little babies or maybe even superhero nerds who have never seen another type of movie in their life? If this truly was trying to be a 1930s Universal monster movie like Invisible Man or Frankenstein, then why did it not fully commit to it? You can't just show a film or TV special in black and white and have old-timey movie fonts and then just pretend that you did something different. If you truly wanted to make an old-timey horror monster movie that just happens to exist in the MCU, then you have to fully commit to the gimmick. Play on some of the cliches that these kinds of movies have, maybe even subvert them in ways you wouldn't expect. Actually fucking shoot this TV special on film instead of shooting it digitally like a modern movie, and then change it to look more, quote, retro, making it feel more like an imitation of an older movie instead of actually feeling like an older movie. Ham up the performances and go super over the top like a lot of the actors in these types of movies, like Boris Karloff did in films such as Frankenstein and The Mummy. Do something that lets us get attached to the characters or make us care about them, or at the very least stand out from the hundreds upon hundreds of characters that all talk and act the same as fucking everyone else does in this universe. Or at the very least, do something fucking different with your action sequences. In a special where people's arms are getting cut off and people's heads are literally fucking exploding, you'd think that in a horror-themed TV special, you'd change things up a bit to fit the tone that you're going for, but instead you do the same shit yet again. You have a literal werewolf in your fucking special, and yet he fights exactly how literally every single hand-to-hand fighter character in the MCU fights, only this time he's a bit more bitey. A lot of the violence is already pretty explicit for a Marvel project anyway, so why did you not fully commit to do it? Do a fucking Evil Dead 2 or something where you go all the way with your violence. You did the bare minimum required to be a, quote, homage to these old horror movies, which thereby tricks people into thinking they saw something different when in reality they just got sucked in seeing the same Marvel formula. Wow, congrats Marvel, way to do the same bullshit yet again. Way to make the same thing you've been doing for almost 2 decades now, only this time instead of a superhero, we've got a furry as the main protagonist. Look, I'm not trying to shit on anyone who genuinely loves and enjoys this TV special. If you liked it, great, all the more power to you. And to give where credit is due, there are some admirable, even interesting aspects about this project that helps it stand out even a little bit from the rest of the Marvel projects. For starters, while I don't like that this special was shot digitally, I can't deny that it does look nice, and there's a lot in terms of production value that was put into this project. And yeah, this is sort of a standard when it comes to Marvel movies anyway, but I love some of the gothic aesthetic that they were going for, especially in the first like 10 to 20 minutes of this special, where they show the spooky robot dead guy in the coffin. Additionally, I liked some of the cinematography and camera work, especially an action scene that was shot in one take. Some of the gore/violence was nice to behold, and some of the music helped complement the action scenes, and Giacchino himself isn't a bad director. As much of how low effort this special serves as a, quote, homage, I can tell that Giacchino is a fan of these kinds of movies based on how he chooses to present some of this stuff, including the actual transformation of Gael Garcia Bernal's character into a werewolf. The actual look of the werewolf was stupid as fuck, but I at least liked the build up to his transformation. Ultimately, this isn't a worthless piece of shit, but I think these good elements is what makes me so mad about this special. It's that if it just fully committed to what it wants to be, if it just fully lets go of the fact that it's in the same universe as Spider-Boy and Brie Larson, and actually tried to be daring and creative, then this would have been something really awesome. On paper, this is something I would have really loved, and while I like parts of it, I can't enjoy this fully because of the fact that it's still stuck to that Marvel formula. It can't get too creative or crazy or out there, because then it would deviate from the consistency of the universe. It would deviate from that Marvel brand. Now again, we're all different people, and some people might like that all this shit is the same because it's comforting to have something like entertainment be consistent, and while that's a fair statement to make, when at a certain point does that consistency become so fucking consistent that the entertainment you're consuming becomes just monotone, lifeless, and not fun? If I'm being honest, this TV special felt very similar to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, another attempt from Marvel to make a, quote, horror film. Now, while I like Doctor Strange 2 way more than I like Werewolf by Night, I think both projects symbolize my biggest issues with these kinds of Marvel stories. They so desperately want to be one type of thing, they crave to be wacky and daring and out there, and while elements of these projects certainly express these creative juices kinda well, they still don't change the fact that there's still yet another generic bullshit Marvel thing that has to stick to the the formula that the rest of this franchise has set up. Doctor Strange 2 has elements of a Sam Raimi horror movie a la Evil Dead and Drag Me to Hell, but it's so constrained by the Marvel brand that the best it can be is a half-assed knockoff of a Sam Raimi movie, and let me remind you, it was directed by Sam fucking Raimi. And I feel very similarly about this Werewolf by Night thing. It so desperately wants to be this homage or love letter or tribute or fucking whatever you want to call it to 1930s Universal monster movies, and while it has elements of those movies that makes it stand out, it can't fully commit to what it wants to be because it can't forget about the fact that it's also a Marvel project. And that is why I wanted to make this video in the first place. It's that Werewolf by Night proves that no matter how many cool or creative choices there are, the MCU will never change. It can't really, because why would it ever need to? Avengers Endgame is literally the second highest grossing movie of all time. In fact, I think like 3 Marvel movies are in the highest grossing movies of all time. These movies make billions of dollars by just doing the same shit over and over again, so there's no real reason to change, and while I like and even respect Marvel as a business and as a brand, I don't respect Marvel as a studio that fosters creativity or unique voices. Unless Kevin Feige decides to do something drastic like letting Lars von Trier or Andrew Dominic make some NC-17 Marvel movie where the Hulk shoots blood from his pee-pee onto Scarlet Witch, who at the same time is being sexually exploited by Stark Industries, nothing is really going to change. It doesn't matter that most of the Marvel projects aren't as critically acclaimed as they used to be. Gullible consumers will still pay all the tickets and merchandising and toys and Disney Plus subscriptions to see their favorite action figure dick around for like 90 minutes to 2 hours. Anyway, I don't really know how to end this video, so I guess I'll just end it here, I guess. Thanks so much for listening to my TED Talk / Insane Asylum rant, and look out for my next video as I got a spicy Halloween special planned out that I'll upload in the next week or so watch out for that. Anyway, that's all for today. I'm Timmy from Tim Jong-un Productions, signing off.